Here we Nira came. See, it was worth waiting so that Nira can join us. A very good evening to everybody and a special welcome to Rabbi Yankel Raskin from Jamaica, really joining us here to speak about Chabad in Jamaica. So first of all, I'm going to mute everybody else so we don't get any background noise. And I want to thank you, Rabbi, for joining us. Really appreciate it. So let's get started at the beginning. How long have you been in Jamaica? Are you in Jamaica right now?
Currently in Jamaica, in the cheder, the office, and the shul. Multi-purpose.
Wow. You got a lot going on there. You got a cheder, you got an office, you got a shul. How long have you been in Jamaica?
So, first of all, good evening. Thank you for having me, Rabbi Epstein, and fellow Yidden from Chicago, right?
You could just speak up a little bit, Rabbi. We're having a little difficult time hearing you.
A wonderful evening from Jamaica, and thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. We moved to Jamaica exactly 7 summers ago.
Wow.
July 2014.
July 24th. So what is the Jewish community in Jamaica look like? I mean, how many Jews are there? People live in Jamaica. Is everybody there on vacation? What is the fabric of the community? Is there a Jewish community in Jamaica?
So there is 360 local Jews who live around this entire country. Now, this
350 Jews live in the whole country.
Correct. Now, it's the size of New Jersey, size of Israel. And we service all these Jews. We travel around a lot, do a lot of traveling just to see one Yid or a few Yidden, to put tefillin, learn with them, or give them whatever they need. And then you have about 200,000 Jewish tourists.
200,000 Jewish tourists come every year?
Every year. That is out of 4 million tourists who come to Jamaica annually. So at least 200,000 of them are Jewish. And we're fortunate to service. We don't reach all the 200,000, but we reach, Baruch Hashem, a nice amount. And, after year where we are here, people are starting to know that we can offer them whatever.
Give us a sense. The 350 Jews who are permanent residents in Jamaica, are they all retirees? Are they all,
split that number in half. Are full-time locals. Some of them are descendants of Spanish Jews who moved here about over 400 years ago when Columbus discovered Jamaica. Or a lot of them escaped from, Amsterdam after the Spanish Inquisition. So they went to these other places and came to Jamaica. There is after Curacao, the second oldest synagogue in Caribbean is in Jamaica. You have, it's a sand, beautiful shul, 100 years old, 100 and a few years now. And it used to be Orthodox shul, now it's Reform. And that's mainly the community in Kingston. We're located in Montego Bay.
How far away is that?
2.5 hours.
Oh boy.
Half an hour flight. And that's...
so tell us about yourself. How did you decide and wind up in Jamaica? Like, how did you get that to become your way to spread the Rebbe's mission? What's the backstory? Is there a backstory as to how you wound up in Jamaica?
So the story goes like this. 7 years ago, after we got married, I was studying in Kola. And
in Brooklyn?
Actually, there was a kollel for 2 or 3 years at the resting place of the Rebbe. We were 6 young married couples.
At the oil.
At the oil from 7 a.m. till 4 p.m. every day. We sat and learned over there. It was a very beautiful, special experience, so to see, to witness thousands of people on a daily basis visiting the oil. It's, I'm Lubavitch, grew up as a son of a shliach, but that was a very special experience that year, being there to just witness that. So we were looking for a shlichus, and when I was a student, I was sent to, actually maybe he's a shliach now in Chicago, Rabbi Yaakov David Katarski,
Sure.
right?
In Arlington Heights.
Yeah. So we went together to the ABC Islands in the summer of 2012. And that was my first introduction to the Caribbean.
So the
And
ABC Islands are what? Aruba,
Cuba,
Bahamas,
and Curacao.
and Curacao.
And that's when we saw that there's small Jewish communities that have need some Yiddishkeit. So after I got married, we were looking, Chabad, I think, was in 85 countries. And it said, let's see if there's another country that is available. So we reached out to the head office, the America's office, and they said, listen, why don't you check out Jamaica? So, and of course, in yeshiva, we learned geography, right? So I thought Jamaica's in Africa. What do I know about the Caribbean
I
islands?
thought it was a train station in Brooklyn.
It's all written in the Talmud, the Caribbean islands. Just kidding. And
It's a train station in Brooklyn. That's where you change trains.
Brooklyn. The OHEL is in Jamaica, Queens.
Right. Change to
Everybody
Jamaica.
goes today, they ask, you're really in Jamaica or you're in Queens, Jamaica? I said, I left Jamaica, Queens to Jamaica. So Jamaica came up and we had, now, I'm sure you heard of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's started a thing called Merkeshluchim, which is young students spend their summer months, or not summer months, so I would say 3 to 4 weeks out of their summer, going to small communities that don't
She's
have
good. Thanks for asking.
and bring Yiddishkeit there. So there was the Rebbe sent since 1957, always young students to Jamaica. Because it was, the community was much bigger till the 70s. There was like really full families. Now I would say like 350 is more individuals. Then it was like, full families, which was maybe close to 500.
And those families had come from Eastern Europe to Jamaica?
So you had, okay, so back to that. We had families who live here generations. Then you had about 100 years ago, a whole bunch of families came from Syria to Jamaica. And then you have Israelis who came to Jamaica for business. One of the leading companies in Jamaica of the, irrigation to save water and solar and all that is called Isratech. It's an Israeli company, and he's leading actually in the Caribbean. So also one of the builder who built the Jamaica airport was an Israeli company called Ashram, who was in Jamaica for about 40 years. The Zim, you see it all over, you come to Jamaica and you see Hebrew words on containers, Tzaddik Yud Mem. They had I think they just left Jamaica. The shippings had problems. It was not so good for the economy lately, but they were here for many years as well. So you had a lot of Israelis, and then you have the cruise ships come to Jamaica. So one of we have Israeli who's the manager of the Diamond, the big Diamond International that comes here for all the cruises.
So you arrived in Jamaica about 7 years ago. You and your wife ready to start the first real permanent Chabad house and other activities. How do you get basics? If someone has a baby, how do you get a moil? How do you get matzah? How do you get a pair of tzitzis? How do you get the svarim that we see in the background there? I know those are real. It's not a virtual background. How do you get, we're here in Chicago. Maybe you have to drive a few miles. Maybe the strawberry yogurt isn't, the Chalav strawberry yogurt maybe isn't on sale. This is the big self-sacrifice and challenges that we have. How do you get basic Jewish materials in Jamaica?
So when we had a bris here, it's a little bit more expensive. We flew down the rabbi from Florida.
From Florida.
And Klein came down to do the bris. It was the first bris in Montego Bay since maybe 100 years ago.
Wow. For your son.
Rabbi of America, in New York, or at least maybe even America, was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Who is that?
Rabbi Henry Pereira Mendes. You can check it up on Wikipedia. He was born in Montego Bay. There was the community here was in the 1800s, and then he started the Orthodox Union.
Wow.
So it's a lot of history. Even the first Jews of New York, before they went to Newport over there, most of them are Jews from the Caribbean.
Why did we leave? We could have all been living in the islands instead of 2 feet of snow. Whose bright idea was it to all come to Chicago where it's freezing? We could have all been living in Jamaica. Oh my gosh, our bubbies! What
all welcome to come back.
Okay,
We have a mikveh being built right now.
Mamish, you're building a mikvah and kosher food to fill
So
in. How do you get supplies?
we we bought a 20-foot container when we moved out. I brought all my sparm, and everything has to be shipped in. You want something, you have to ship it in. Sorry, that's mosquitoes. It's mosquito season. Now about kosher food. So also we ship it in. We're gonna have a container, freight coming from Florida now with some meat and chicken. But this year, because of COVID, we were having problem bringing things in, so we brought a shofet, and we were able
Wow.
to shecht these Jamaican chickens. They smoke good ganja, so real turkeys. We shechted close to 500 chickens here, and it lasted us about till now, about 4 or 5 months. You freeze them very well, and now we have to bring down the shofet again because we're running
So
out.
that's my next question. You talked about 200,000 tourists. You're keeping busy. You're here 7 years. Everything's going along. You got a few local people. You got Israelis. You got businessmen. Boom, COVID comes. How did COVID affect generally in Jamaica? And then how did it impact? And does it continue to impact, I imagine, without the cruise ships and so on? What happened there in Jamaica? What happened in the general population as far as the health and so on? And what about all the tourists?
So it was a big scare. The economy of Jamaica is based on tourists. So when they closed the borders here, March 29 last year, it was, what is our future? What's going to be over here? Who knows how long it's going to be? There was a lot of uncertainty, and people who were relying on income of the last March, April, that's it. You were stuck. It was a very big down. It was tough months then. But Baruch Hashem, we got to really connect with our locals to one-on-one. The Zoom was a big blessing. I didn't have to run around for Shurim anymore. I could sit right over here and have Jews from every city of the island learning Torah together. We started weekly Zooms. So as the Rebbe taught us, and I'm sure you did the same thing in Chicago and other from around the world, we don't get into a situation that makes it hard, but we make the best out of the situation as much as we could. We sent matzah to everybody, did the Seder at their homes. It's not the same when we do it all together. But we brought every holiday. Since then, we actually print now a beautiful holiday booklet, which people are very thankful who live in other parts of the island who never came to us. But they're all these ideas came because of COVID and connected us stronger.
What has the integration been like with the broader Jamaican community? Do you have a relationship with them? Is it friendly? What has been you live there, you're there every day, you go to the grocery stores, your kids play in the parks. What has been the integration of Chabad and the general Jamaican community?
So we're very fortunate. We had a visitor who needed to say Kaddish here in 2016. And he's like, Rabbi, we want to do something for the locals over here, the unfortunate ones.
Can you speak up a little bit, right? Because we're having a little trouble.
Hear me out? I'm going to get closer.
Please.
So he wanted to do something for the unfortunate, there's a lot of poor people here in Jamaica. So he sponsored our first back to school charity drive. Every year before school starts, we started off with 200 local Jamaican children, giving them school bags, pencils, notebooks, all that stuff. And from year to year, it grew to 5,000 children.
5,000. So Chabad of Jamaica provides 5,000 Jamaican, not Jewish kids. There aren't 5,000 Jewish kids in Jamaica yet, with basic school supplies, backpacks, pencils, notebooks, whatever. This is an annual event that's been going on since 2016.
Correct. And
that's amazing. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a compliment. Tell us about that.
So Baruch Hashem, and this year we were able to, get some people. We didn't get crazy numbers this year, with our first supporter, he hit him hard in COVID, but we were able to change it into tablets for some kids. And we're hoping this year as well to do something very nice.
That's beautiful. So you've not only been there to service the few hundred Jews and the 200,000 Jewish tourists, the broader Jamaican community is benefiting directly in the most tangible way to empower these kids to go to school and to be able to learn. That's fantastic. That's a beautiful story. So you've been there, like you said, 7 years. Can you identify for us what's the biggest challenge and what's the biggest reward in your experience there. What's been the most challenging and what's been most rewarding?
So most challenging to educate our children with proper Chabad education, that whole surrounding with other Jewish friends, and that whole school you have back in Brooklyn, Chicago, or Montreal, where I grew up. You don't have that. They're not, and we're hoping maybe one day we'll be able to have more families here. It will change. So if there's opportunities when it's quiet over here, we do get to put them in school. Actually, right now I'm here. My family, I put them in a Jewish camp because it's a quiet summer because of COVID. So they're enjoying in New York now some good Jewish education. What's rewarding is you're living on this beautiful tropical island. You get to be very close to God. Right now, our new Chabad house, we just moved in, actually a blessing. We moved in right before Corona. And we made sure when we're going to buy the Chabad house, it's going to, you're in Jamaica, you got to look at the ocean. So right here, and when it's day, you see the beautiful ocean, and we have beautiful Shabbos dinners now. Anybody who comes on vacation, you want to do a Shabbaton, we do it overlooking the ocean. And it's very, very, that's one of the most rewarding things that, it's a blessing to really come close. Every day it's written in Hayom Yom. The Baal Shem Tov says, when you meet water, you have to say it's a siman bracha. So it's a sign of a blessing. So over here, every morning, it's a blessing. It's just a blessing.
You feel the blessing. So Rabbi, give us a story, if you could, just to summarize or maybe encapsulate something that we can get a feel for what it's like to be in Chabad of Jamaica.
Okay. I'll tell you that one of the most recent stories was last year, March. So once the borders closed, there was this fellow Israeli who tried to take the route of Columbus. He left Portugal or Spain and head to the Caribbean. And he came to Dominican Republic. He was trying to get to Mexico. And he just left the borders there. And he wanted to come back because he heard other places are being closed. They pointed guns at him. He said, no, you got to go from here. So his closest next point was Jamaica. Came to the shores of Jamaica, hoping they will let him dock in Jamaica. And as well, the borders are closed. So I get this email from this fellow Israeli, Pesach is coming. Can you send me some Pesach food? So thanks to, we were able to send the matzah, and thanks to a very wonderful Israeli local, helped us as well get the connections to get him Israeli SIM card, and not Israeli, local SIM card, so we could be in touch with him, and groceries, basic needs that he will be able to survive on the boat. And when they closed the borders, they didn't tell us it's going to be for 3 months. They said, yeah, 2 weeks. So I'm like, listen, here's the number to the consulate. 2 weeks, you'll manage on the boat. If I could come join you, maybe. It was a 40-foot boat, not so comfortable. At Cholamot, I messaged him. I said, "How was your Pesach Seder?" Oh, he's like, the matzah arrived the first day of Pesach. Okay, so at least you had it for the second night. Because till there was a lot of shoicha, the bribery, till you have to get a police boat to get him, each one to move from here to A to Z to get it to his boat. It was not easy. All of a sudden, it's about 6 weeks or 7 weeks later, Pesach Sheni, Yud Gimel Iyar. Someone sends me this link from the news in Israel. There's an Israeli stranded in Jamaica. The government's not helping. The Israeli consulate is hopeless. The man is a question of life and death. He wants to maybe give up his life, God forbid, and his parents are giving up, and it sounds horrible. And you know how the news knows how to make it. He joined a few of our Zooms classes that started after Passover because of COVID. We did a positive talk, how to make the best out of COVID. And through the Rebbe's teachings. And I called him up. I'm like, Amit, are you okay? Like, I just spoke to you. This is not the Amit that I knew. I know it's tough, and we're going to get you better. He's like, yeah, the news knows how to exaggerate. Of course, we called his parents. His parents were very, very worried. And I called the consulate to see what's going on. So the consulate told me as follows. basically the consul of Jamaica is in Dominican Republic. He takes care of Grenada, a few islands, and Jamaica as well. But we have one of the local community members who is the Israeli honorary. So he represents the consul over here. So I call them what's going on. They say, listen, we arranged to have the American embassy was closed because of COVID, open specially for him the coming Monday. This was Thursday. The coming Monday, he's going to be able to get a visa. And when there's going to be flights again, he'll be able to go to America. But what's the problem now? Jamaica said, okay, we're going to let him off the boat to go to the embassy. But till there's a flight, he has to stay under the boat. Because he's, God forbid, he was quarantined already 6 weeks. He's going to spread COVID to more people, right? Because there was a lot of COVID on that boat. Quote, quote. So, but you understand, they're trying to protect the country, and no one knew in, when was that? May last year, or what this virus was all about yet. So, long story short, I write right away the first thing that we're taught to do, and as a chassid of the Rebbe, we write to the Rebbe. I write right away a letter to the Rebbe, and asking for a blessing, and it was a very special day, Pesach Sheni, it's never too late, and it's the arts of Rameir Balanes. We need a miracle over here to get him off, and the government should agree. Then it's ring the bell. We have this amazing lawyer over here. If he can convince the government, when it comes from a legal point of view, it's things are going to be much different. 2 hours later, he gets the permission. He's going to be able to come to Jamaica. And we arranged with this Israeli fellow from the community that there should be an apartment with a security guard. No COVID is going to go. Lucky him, he got his visa. And that Tuesday was the first flight from Jamaicans stranded in New York to come back home to Jamaica, and New Yorker Americans stranded in Jamaica to go back. Able to go on that flight, and then there was a flight to Israel. Now, when he was 24 hours in New York, he went to the Ohel. He went to thank, of course, the Rebbe for the blessing, and he was able to be back. And he was able to be one of the first to say, yes, we're in this crazy corona, but good days are going to come, and we're going to pass this soon.
Amen.
Baruch Hashem, he also took upon himself to put tefillin every day. Since this, we arranged him a pair of tefillin when he was his 24 hours in New York. And I should be in touch with him more. Last time, a few weeks ago, he sent me a picture. He's still putting them on, and I hope he continues.
Amen.
That is, yeah.
Well, Rabbi Raskin, thank you. 1,000 thank yous. Maybe we'll come visit you.
Know what happened to the boat?
So the boat wasn't his. It was owned by an Italian man, which also after that's a part I forgot what the news said. They were after being 6 weeks together. They didn't really talk the same language. They, lost. How do you call it? They're not good. They weren't getting along too well. So the Italian took back his boat out, and he probably went back to wherever.
Rabbi, you said something about someone started the Orthodox Union?
Yes, Henry Pereira Mendes.
He started the OU that we all know around the world?
We'll have to look more into it, but he was he was one of the first rabbis of the OU.
Wow. Well, out here in Jamaica.
In Jamaica.
Woo, look at that.
By the way, there is right here. If you want to read more about the history of Jamaica, there's beautiful books, The Jewish Treasures of the Caribbean, and other things, Jewish Pirates. But first, you have to learn Hasidus with Rabbi Epstein.
Every night we have learning, and then Wednesday nights we have our special guest. So very many thanks, Rabbi. We loved it. So interesting. Hatzlacha Rabbah to you. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the time to share with us. This has been great. And
I have a question.
Okay, hold on. We got a question.
Sure.
Rabbi, there's a gentleman from Chicago. His name is Jeff Williams. And then there's another guy that owns a bunch of vacation homes from, his name is Freddie. They're both from Chicago. I don't know.
Fred
Pardon me?
Fred Schwartz?
Freddie Schwartz.
Yes, I think I met him.
Okay. So if you met Freddie Schwartz, you tell him you were from the Schwitz. You're a Schwitz guy.
Yes, I just came from outside. We had a dinner with a few guests over here, and now I'm in the air conditioning office.
Okay, you're okay. Just wanted to give you a little heads up, because if you meet up with them or so, they're always very good. I'm sure they would have fun with you. Thank you, Rabbi.
And please take Rabbi Epstein and your congregation, make a Shabbaton. You're all welcome to visit us in Jamaica.
There you
Yeah,
go.
let's do that.
Come in the winter months. This is, what is it, 4 hours from Chicago? 5 hours.
I
Trying
think
to
they
say
have
for-
direct
When
flights.
is the best time to visit you?
And
January.
come in the winter.
Rabbi Raskin, are the villas that are kosher near your Chabad house?
There is lots of villas near Chabad, and that can be kosher.
Wow.
I read online. I heard you
Yeah.
through the CMC during COVID. You spoke for the CMC here, I think. And
Yes.
right, so I heard that one. And there's all these like beautiful villas that have like 18 people can stay in and have their own pool. And then is the restaurant open? Did it make it through COVID or no?
So we were closed, and Baruch Hashem, we reopened.
Uh-huh.
September, we have a small kosher restaurant. I call it my permanent mitzvah tank. That was like our first Chabad house, and it still is. That's like on the busy streets. It's 20 minutes from where this is, where I'm located now, where I live, and we have our Shabbos shul and everything, and the mikvah. And it's a little place, vegetarian restaurant, falafel, fish and chips, and of course, according to put on tefillin and read, you get some Torah.
Yeah, ever since I heard you at the CMC, I've wanted to come to Jamaica.
Okay. You're all
Thank
welcome.
you.
We're waiting for you.
All right. Anybody else got any questions? Okay, we're going to say thank you very much to Rabbi Raskin. Tomorrow night, we'll talk some Parsha. Thank you again, Rabbi. Really, really appreciate it. This was great. Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night for Parsha.
Colton. Bye.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you.